I want you to think about the last time that you slept through the night, like really slept. Fell asleep within 20 minutes, you stayed asleep until your alarm went off, and you actually woke up feeling rested. For so many women that I work with, they genuinely cannot remember the last time that this happened. They all describe their nights the same way. They say falling asleep isn't usually the problem. It's what happens at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. Right? Their eyes are open, they're wide awake, their heart rate is slightly elevated, their body temperature is too warm or too cold, their mind is immediately active even though nothing has changed since 11 p.m. And then an hour of lying there, they've tried breathing, they've tried checking the clock, they're doing the mental math on how much sleep is left if they fall back asleep right now. And then, of course, the alarm goes off. And it's like, oh my gosh, I have to drag myself, through the day, 4 or 5 hours of broken sleep. You're reaching for coffee, reaching for sugar, feeling irritable, foggy, overwhelmed. And then you're wondering, why do I feel like this, even though I feel like I'm doing most things right? And if this is you, I want you to hear this clearly. You're not anxious. You're not a bad sleeper. You're not getting old, as we're told. Your body is going through a very specific hormonal shift, and your sleep is one of the first places it shows up. And the good news is that once you understand what is actually happening, the solution becomes so much clearer. Today, I'm going to show you exactly why sleep changes in perimenopause and menopause, and why the things most women try don't work, and what the research says actually does. Okay, so by the end of this video, you'll have a framework, not a supplement stack, that addresses the real cause. Let's get into it because I think this is super, super important. Number one, the real cause starts with progesterone. Most women assume their sleep problems in perimenopause or menopause are caused by hot flashes. What most women don't understand is they're not the root cause. The sleep disruption almost always starts before the hot flashes do, years before in many cases, which means, again, they aren't the root cause. There is something deeper happening first. The hormone responsible for helping you fall asleep and stay asleep isn't melatonin, it's progesterone. And it's the first hormone to fall in perimenopause, often when you still have regular periods, so you have no idea the transition has started. Here's what most women don't know about hormones and sleep. They don't realize that they interact. Progesterone is not just a reproductive hormone. It has direct sedative properties. It binds to the same receptors in the brain as anti-anxiety medications. It promotes slow wave sleep, which is the deepest sleep, the most restorative phase of your sleep cycle, and the phase where your body actually repairs tissue. And that's so important. It also regulates cortisol for the next day. And progesterone is the first hormone to decline in perimenopause, not estrogen, progesterone. So often, in your early 40s, sometimes even your late 30s for some women, while your cycles are still regular, you have no idea that the transition has begun. The first thing that actually happens is you lose the hormone that was actually quietly anchoring your sleep every night. You don't connect it to perimenopause because you're not having one of the hot flashes yet, right? Your periods haven't changed. Nothing looks hormonal from the outside, but you just can't sleep as well. Then, as perimenopause progresses, estrogen starts to fluctuate, and estrogen affects your thermoregulatory system. So your body's ability to regulate temperature. So when estrogen drops during the night, your brain misreads your body temperature and triggers that heat dissipation response, which is the hot flash. And that wakes you up. Not because something is wrong, but it's really because your brain is trying to cool a body that doesn't actually need cooling. So in a well-regulated hormonal system, cortisol follows a clear pattern, right? It's at its lowest at the start of the night, and that helps you fall asleep. And then it begins rising around 4 or 5 a.m., and that helps you wake up naturally. But in perimenopause, when estrogen and progesterone are declining, cortisol regulation becomes less precise. It's not anxiety, it's a cortisol spike happening 3 hours too early. So most women are dealing with not one hormonal disruption in their sleep, but 3 at the same time. And then they're trying to fix it with melatonin, which essentially addresses none of them. This week, I want you to start tracking your sleep with one specific question. What time did I wake up and what did it feel like? Was it hot? That's likely estrogen. Was it racing mind despite no obvious stressor? That's likely cortisol. Was it a light fragmented sleep all night? That's likely progesterone. Because when you know what you're dealing with, then you can stop reaching for the generic solutions and start addressing the actual cause. Most women I work with have already tried the obvious things, right? Magnesium, melatonin, cutting caffeine, keeping their bedroom cooler, avoiding screens before bed, and they're still waking up at 3 a.m. Why the standard fixes don't work. If your sleep disruption is being driven by hormonal changes in perimenopause, supplements and environment changes are really just managing managing the symptom. They're not helping it. They're not changing the underlying physiology. And that's why most women feel like they're doing everything right and they're still sleeping badly. Here's what the standard approach to sleep in menopause misses. The reason your sleep is disrupted is that your body's hormonal regulation has changed at a fundamental level, right? So less progesterone means less deep sleep. Fluctuating estrogen means temperature instability at night. When you have dysregulated cortisol, that means you're waking up too early with a mind that's already in problem-solving mode. No supplement addresses all three of these things. No bedroom adjustment addresses any of them. What the research is showing, and what I've been seeing in my studio for years with the women I work with, and it's the most powerful non-hormonal intervention for sleep in perimenopause and postmenopause, is progressive strength training. Like knowing how to lift progressively correctly. Not because strength training is magic, but because of what it actually does to the three physiological systems that are actually disrupting your sleep. So let me show you exactly how. First, action step. Before your next sleep fix purchase, I want you to ask yourself this question. Is this addressing the symptom or the system causing the symptom? If it's just a symptom fix, it might give you one better night, but the 3 a.m. wake up is still going to be there next week. The system is what we need to change. Let's talk about what actually moves the needle and why the research points so clearly in one direction that most women are never actually pointed to. Why strength training changes your sleep. A randomized controlled trial published in the Journal of Climatric took postmenopausal women with daily symptoms, right, of hot flashes and night sweats and put them through 15 weeks of resistance training 3 times per week. At the end of the 15 weeks, the resistance training groups showed statistically significant improvements in sleep quality, in their hot flash symptoms, and overall quality of life compared to the control group that changed nothing. So not aerobic training, resistance training, progressive strength training. And this isn't an isolated finding. A 12-week resistance training program improved sleep quality, mood, anxiety, and cognitive function in older women, regardless of how poor their sleep was to start. And there was another study that found that resistance training improved overall sleep quality by 38%. These are not small numbers, right? These are not placebo effects. Strength training 3 times a week for 15 weeks significantly improves sleep quality in postmenopausal women and menopausal women with hot flashes and night sweats, more than any other supplement tested, more than aerobic training alone. And here's the exact mechanism behind it. So I want to tell you about a client I have. Her name is Rachel, 49 years old. She's been waking up at 2:30 a.m. almost every night for 14 months, right? She was a high performer. She ran her own business. She managed her team. She kept everything going during the day. But at 2:30 a.m., her brain was wide awake, wide open, running through everything she hadn't finished, everything she needed to do tomorrow, every conversation she wasn't sure that landed well, right? By 5 a.m., she'd finally fall back asleep, and then her alarm would go off at 6:30. She was running on 4 to 5 hours of broken sleep most days and most mornings for over a year. And when Rachel came to me at ShesPrime, her sleep wasn't even her major concern because she was so used to it. She just wanted to lose her midsection weight that appeared in the last 2 years. But by week 6 of her program, she mentioned, like, I don't even know what's happening, but I'm actually sleeping through the night. Not every night, but 4 nights out of 7, she wasn't waking up, right? And on the nights that she did wake up, she was actually falling back asleep within 20 minutes instead of lying there for 2 hours or, whatever, right? By week 12, she told me, I feel like I actually have my life back. I didn't realize how much the sleep deprivation was affecting everything. My mood, my patience, my energy levels. I actually feel like myself again. Rachel hadn't changed her magnesium. She hadn't bought a new mattress. She had started to build muscle. And that muscle had changed her body's ability to regulate the systems that were disrupting her sleep. Here is exactly what was happening for Rachel and what happens for most women when they build muscle through progressive strength training. First, cortisol regulation improves, which is huge, right? Muscle tissue is metabolically active. So when you train progressively, you're giving your body a physiological reason to manage cortisol more effectively. Well-trained muscle helps buffer the cortisol response. And over time, with consistent progressive training, that dysregulated cortisol pattern that was waking Rachel up at 2:30 becomes more stable, right? Cortisol stays lower longer in into the night, and the early morning spike normalizes, so that 3 a.m. window shrinks. Second, her body temperature regulation improved. Here is something that most people don't know. Muscle tissue plays an active role in how your body generates and dissipates heat, right? So when you have more metabolically active muscle, your body becomes more efficient. Third, slow wave sleep increases, that deep sleep. So progressive strength training increases the time that you spend in that deep, slow wave sleep. And this is why the research keeps finding that resistance training done properly outperforms aerobic training for sleep quality in this phase of life. Aerobic training doesn't build the muscle mass that drives these three mechanisms right at the same level. Progressive strength training properly does. So action steps. This week, I want you to make one commitment, not a new supplement, not a new sleep routine. But if you are not doing this, I want one strength session this week where the goal is progressive overload, not just movement, not just feeling like you did something. A session where you actually track what you lifted, right? And then you commit to lifting slightly more than you did last time. This is the signal that starts to actually change your physiology. And your physiology is what changes your sleep. Now you understand why strength training works. But let me give you the specific framework, because just lift weights is generally not enough. The type, the timing, and the structure all matter. And I'm going to tell you exactly what the research supports again, so you can stop guessing and start doing what to actually do. Knowing that strength training improves sleep is one thing, but knowing how to structure it so that it doesn't make your sleep worse before it makes it better, that's where most women get stuck, because there is a wrong way to do this, and I see it constantly. Not all training helps sleep in perimenopause. Some of it makes sleep worse. And here's the exact structure that the research supports and that I use with every woman inside ShesPrime. Rule 1, train in the morning or early afternoon. High intensity training in the evening elevates cortisol and core temperature at exactly the wrong time, right? Your body needs a cortisol and a temperature drop to initiate sleep. So if you train hard at 7 p.m., you're creating the opposite condition your body needs at 10 p.m. So move your hardest sessions to before 2 p.m. if possible. If evening is your only option, then keep it moderate, right? Mobility, light strength work, nothing that leaves you really wired. Rule 2, 2 to 3 progressive strength sessions per week, not more. More is not necessarily better at this phase of life, okay? And there was a woman in this study who actually showed that significant sleep improvements train on just an average of 2.2 sessions a week. So not 5, not 6, like 2 or 3 well-structured progressive sessions. Like overtraining in perimenopause will often elevate cortisol chronically, which makes your sleep worse, not better. So the goal is to create a stimulus for adaptation, not accumulate fatigue. Rule 3, progressive overload every session. Random workouts does not produce the physiological adaptations that drive sleep improvement, right? You need your body to be measurably stronger week over week. That means tracking your numbers, adding weight or reps or time under tension in an intentional way. This is the signal your body actually responds to. This is what drives the cortisol regulation, that improvement on the hot flashes, the improvement on the deep sleep, progress, not just presence. Rule 4, fuel your training, especially before bed. And this one surprises women because we're kind of scared to eat before bed, but a small protein-rich meal or snack an hour before bed often will support muscle repair, help stabilize blood sugar through the night. Blood sugar often drops at night. This is actually one of the drivers, right? So having that snack can really help. Your body senses low blood sugar. It releases cortisol to raise it, which often will wake you up. So sometimes a simple little bit of Greek yogurt, some cottage cheese, or a small serving of, some egg whites or a little bit of protein before you sleep can make a massive difference. I don't think fat is really that necessary. You just need to have that blood sugar stabilization, and that'll help. Rule 5, track sleep as a training outcome. The women who make the fastest progress are the ones that actually track their sleep, right? In different training loads. So did you sleep worse this week? Maybe training volume was a little high. Maybe you trained too late. Maybe your recovery nutrition was off. Did you sleep better? Like what was different? These questions make a big difference. Sleep quality is data, and it tells you whether your training load and your recovery are kind of syncing together for your body right now. Okay, so action step. Write down your answers to these 3 questions. What time am I currently training? Number 2, am I tracking what I'm lifting each session? And 3, what am I eating 2 hours before bed? Those three things are starting your audit, because if they're not aligned, they're likely contributing to the sleep disruption that you've been trying to fix with everything else. So if this gave you a clearer picture of why your sleep has changed and what to actually do about it, the next step is finding out where your body actually is right now, because sleep recovery and strength are so connected. And before you can improve one, you need to know your baseline of both. And this is exactly what we assess with the ShesPrime scorecard: strength, recovery, sleep patterns, symptom tracking, real data, and a real starting point so we can get you moving in the right direction. It's a real plan built for the body that you have right now. Okay, so if you're in Vancouver, start with an in-studio ShesPrime assessment. If you're outside of Vancouver, the 16-week digital foundation gives you the same structured approach wherever you are, and both are linked below. So if this video helped you understand something about your body that maybe nobody has actually explained clearly before, or maybe just not in this detail, share it with one woman you know who is lying awake at 3 a.m. tonight or wondering what is wrong with her. Nothing is wrong with her. She just needs a different strategy.